All right. Good morning, Jeep family. I am Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps, SFJ4x4.com.
And Scott Brown, mad scientist.
Yes, mad scientist on our and of course always best friend of, darn near 20 years at this point.
Yep.
And we are here on I Speak Jeep to discuss all things Jeep and off-road and lifestyle related. So we welcome you to a further edition, episode number 6. And they just keep getting fun and funnier as they go. And our big thank you to our production staff here with, we have this lovely things on the screen here, and we go live.
Continual improvements.
Continual improvement. Man, that is the SFJ way, right?
Yes.
So how was the mad scientist? How was the 30? Any updates on your 36?
I had a very busy weekend. So only thing I did was torque my front spring, add spacers that our local older mad scientist, carburetor expert, made for me.
Oh, what did he make?
He made me little spacers because my OCD-ness wanted the castle nuts to go have the castle or split pins or cotter pins through the castle nuts. And if people that don't know, early Fords very seldom used any lock washers. They had castle nuts everywhere, everywhere, and fine thread bolts and hardware.
It's like tractor technology.
Sort of, yes. And when I got the car, the nuts were way up here, and the holes were down here, and the pins are down, just hanging out in space, and I couldn't do it. So I measured up washer thickness, and then I didn't like the fact I had a washer on a washer on a washer on a washer.
Oh yeah, no.
So
not okay.
And then I tried lock washer, still wasn't thick enough, and I didn't like the fact I was using a cotter pin plus a lock washer. I wanted one option.
Wow, the train. There's special appearance by the train today.
Yes. If you've been here, you know why.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Conneaut and trains are completely synonymous.
So we were actually talking about getting used to how we grew up this morning versus our lives now. And when I grew up, I was spoiled to the fact that my dad had a mill and a lathe and a welder and a plasma cutter.
You need a brake,
and a lift and a bench that you could beat on all day long. It was literally lagged into the wall.
It's important to note he was not actually a professional mechanic,
no,
right?
These
are all hobby, but this was not hobby grade stuff.
He was a machinist, a self-employed machinist. But so when we wanted to be like, oh, we have this piece of tubing, it needs to be 1 point blah blah tall. He had the mics for it. We went over the lathe. It took 2 seconds. We were done. Now I'm trying to figure out how the heck to do that with a grinder and a hacksaw. And I used my drill press as a sort of lathe the other day. And I'm really
used your drill press,
yes,
as a sort of lathe the other day.
Yep.
I want to expand upon that. I want to expand upon that real quick. No, and no, absolutely, it is not more common than I thought.
I found other people in my situation.
I've been around the block a couple times, and at no point in time is a drill press a sort of lathe. So tell me more about that.
So I found a video, and it's YouTube. Well, it's a YouTuber that does early Ford.
YouTube
Mustang
University.
Guy.
Oh yeah, okay,
and,
I know where this is going.
He has a mill. And he wanted to clean up the bearing surfaces of his spindle on his Mustang project. He has a 67 fastback, which who wouldn't want that?
Right.
Right. Instead of just taking the emery cloth and turning it on there by hand, he did Scott and Greg problems and wanted to use his machine to do this. So he made a steady rest, or I'm trying to remember what they want to call that. It has a point with a bearing in it, and it goes into a vise.
Yes.
And
some type of awl or something to true it up.
So that goes in the vise on the mill, and then it's in a collet on the top. And so it would turn true, and he turned his mill into a pseudo lathe. And I was like, oh, I have a drill press. I can do that, sort of.
So what did you use the bearing and some type of true point?
No.
You didn't do it
I didn't
that well.
spend 3 hours.
You didn't do it
doing
that well.
But to make these spacers, I wanted them to be a little bit nicer. So I was like, "Hey, Bob, can I come over?" And he was busy. Darn retired people being busy.
Oh,
you know?
they're most busy. Then.
But he ended up making them for me on his time by himself. I wanted to be part of it, bonding moment. But oh well.
Okay.
He did.
Okay.
It was super nice, old car guy level.
Oh yeah,
quality,
precision.
Yeah.
Bob's obviously done some work for us on the carburetors, and then some of that old school. We had a block that needed repaired. We had a numbers matching Jeep.
Yep.
And we wanted to keep the block repaired, and so he did the stitch lock repair for us.
Yep,
Bob's a super cool, quiet, humble,
very humble,
hot rod builder who's got that cool. He was really into cool things before they were cool because he's got a flathead V8 stash.
Yep. Well, he's got a Model A with a flathead in it. And
does he have a couple flatheads?
Well, everybody has a couple flatheads.
I don't have any flatheads. I could ask the guys here, and there's nobody. No, see, this is like
own
using
a flathead car. If you own a flathead car, you have a couple flatheads. That's just what you do. It's like this fine print. As you buy the old car, it like says you will purchase extra parts, and included in that is a extra flathead motor.
That's a humph of disbelief, but I it's like having a small block 350. If you're a Camaro owner,
you got to have a 4-bolt main under the bench.
4-bolt main. Give under the bench. You gave him too much credit. It's under a tarp in the backyard.
Oh dear.
On a tire.
Oh, everybody I know has it under their bench.
Oh wow.
That's my dedicated spare motor spot.
Your dedicated spare motor spot. All right. So you did some professional fabric cobbling on your hot rod.
No,
yourself.
It was actually professional because I just installed them. He made them. So.
Oh, okay.
But now I have cotter pins through my castle nuts, and I feel better.
All of that. See, just put this in perspective. All of that has to do with castle nuts, cotter pins, and the lack of lock washers.
Yes.
Really, if we summarize that in general. So. All right, well, we're going to get on with what we're talking about today. We're going to be doing a little more on Jeeps, myths, and legends.
Yep.
We have, obviously, our product. We typically, throughout our session here, we like to talk about a product, specifically products we use, why we like them, what we use them for. And we have joining us today, obviously, is Optima product line, and we have the very fancy charger, which we use here on site. And if you tuned in last week, what were you going to say?
I'll regale you with Optima facts in a little bit. Here.
Oh my! I can't. I hope you will. And as we regale each other, I will be singing once again.
Again.
And, so if you missed last week, it's also important to note these videos go up on YouTube every Friday. So if you miss us on the Facebook Live, or maybe you have trouble with the audio or something, make sure you like and subscribe, follow us on YouTube to get these podcasts every Friday in your inbox. And without further ado, and make sure that you jump on to, if you're on the feed, you can reach out to us. I see.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, I see David Jones, who's logged on a couple times, and we appreciate you logging on and enjoying what's going on here at the shop. And you can comment, and we'll obviously respond to you and talk. And I know one of our subcontractors who does all of our tows and our undercoating, does phenomenal undercoating. If you've ever gotten our undercoating job done here, he jumped on last night. He also moonlights as a lead singer in a local band, which I understand Davey's gone and listened to quite a few times and danced his heart out too.
Well, if you do good on this song, maybe you can come in and do a side cover with him or something.
Right. Oh my gosh. I will. I'll do a special appearance with Hilltop Honey.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We were talking about having him come here and sing. Oh my God. We'll find time for that. I don't know how he finds time for it. Good. Small business and lead singer stuff. So, and then as far as the 12 Jeeps of Christmas, if you missed that last week, we covered 1 through 3. Apparently, I've been told I'm going to have to cover 1 through 3 again.
That's how the song
Add
works.
to it.
You got to start from the beginning every time.
Yeah.
That's why the song goes on and on and on.
And since there are 3 sessions, leading up to our Christmas break, and we will be taking a break. We won't be doing a session post Christmas. We won't be doing a live post Christmas. We are doing the three ghosts per the Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. The three ghosts, but Jeepified.
Yeah,
I like that. So, on with that celebratory fact, we're going to be talking today about the ghosts of Jeepmas past.
Jeepmas past.
Jeeps
of
the
that
past.
Didn't make it.
Yeah, Jeeps that didn't make it. And while that's sort of a loaded statement because none of my Jeeps make it out alive.
No, well, very few.
Very few.
Count on one hand that have made it out alive.
Absolutely on one hand.
Yeah.
And yet I'm still scrolling, Facebook Marketplace being like, oh, I really need.
It's just required.
That's
At least
a
you're
sickness.
focused. You're just looking at, like I'm sure it's semis, tractors, Jeeps. Where mine's early Fords, tractors, Jeeps, trucks,
Yeah.
machinery.
Oh, so right now mine is Comanches, right?
Again?
It's
you have any
it's a
killed enough-
sickness. I
killed
had
enough?
4 Comanches. I've had 4.
Yep. I think one of them got out alive. Did the long bed get out alive?
No, the long bed got the engine ripped out of it, and I sold the shell off to somebody.
It got out mostly alive.
It got out mostly alive. It was sold with a clean title and clean bill of sale. It was sold as a vehicle.
There you go. It made it out alive.
It did not have a drivetrain. You know what? I actually tell the story as I drive to Pittsburgh. Now, first of all, this Comanche is absolutely one of my favorite. Now, we told a story about us.
When I got kidnapped. In the farmer's field.
In the farmer's field. We were just off to the side. We would never trespass on a farmer's actual field. Yep. We were just off to the side, driving the tractor path, their access path, and there was woods on the one side. And we told this story in Wheeling.
Very long truck.
It was a long bed. It was a long bed Comanche.
Way longer than this trail was allowing.
And so this is important to know. I bought this truck for $300 at a garage sale.
And you drove it for like 3 years.
So this is what I was going to say. I was telling my kids this story.
Anymore.
No, you can't do that anymore. But I was telling my kids that every time I drive into Pittsburgh, and if you've ever driven into Pittsburgh, if you're coming down 79 South, it's just all these mountainous hills, and it's just ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. Well, and bridges, under bridges. In the drive in, right? We're talking about doing highway speed, and so I had this Comanche as my daily driver.
Which it really was.
And fortunately, at that time, I had a membership to Sam's Club. Mm-hmm. So I was buying the cheapest low-grade oil by the case and just keeping it in the bed of the truck because I would leave home.
This is an early 4-liter, and it just has to have oil.
It had no rear main seal. Well, I mean, just not just a leak.
But it's trying to preserve itself. That's why I got sold as a shell.
That's why it was actually sellable as a shell. You're absolutely right. So I had actually have to leave. I had to put a quart in.
Thank God it got leaky early enough to save the floorboards.
That's true. That's the thing. Look at you looking at the silver lining.
Amy had a 91. That did not happen. It did. Well, the leaky main seal did happen.
The Cherokee.
But the floorboards were well gone by that point.
I bought those floorboards. You bought replacement floorboards? I bought them from you.
That wasn't actually for that Jeep. That one got a piece of oak.
I would have to stop on my commute into Pittsburgh. So I always tell my kids now, see that hill over there, that pull off on 79?
That's where Daddy broke down.
That's where Daddy would pull off, and I'd have to put oil in the Jeep. And I just knew that there were certain pull offs on 79 as I drove in. I would have to put oil into the Jeep. And then as I left my workplace, and it's important to note, I was not employed as a mechanic or anything mechanical. I was an after-school program supervisor for the museum. So I was kind of in a collar, tie job.
Yeah.
And here I am out, inner city Pittsburgh.
Best in his pretty clothes.
I do.
In inappropriate situations.
Well, that's bringing up a Wheeling story as well. My pretty clothes. But that's I like to point out as we drive into Pittsburgh, I'm pointing, oh yeah, that stop I'd stop and put oil in, or hey, that's the time that a wheel fell off from the ball joints going bad. And
so here we are talking about ghosts of Jeep past
that
didn't make it, and here we are talking about one that did make it. So which one do you want to talk about that didn't make it?
Oh my gosh! Well, no, that one I'm telling you, that kind of didn't make it.
No, it totally made it.
Oh wow!
You didn't kill that one, and I didn't kill that one for you, so therefore it made it.
I see.
It made it out of your care.
Well,
as
I
a
pulled the
vehicle.
motor out of it. That's all I was just. I mean, I pulled the whole driveline out and I sold it. And I would love to know. It went off to Tionesta or Tidiute, Pennsylvania. I mean, nothing comes out of
If
there.
you start counting vehicles you pull motors out of that killed them, I have a really bad list then.
You have
I'd
an
like to
extreme
think
list.
that those went on and found restoration people.
So I'm fairly certain the guy who bought this just buried it in his backyard.
Well, that can
under
happen,
a
but
tarp.
it wasn't under your care.
I
so
see.
You gave
I
it
see.
a chance.
I see. Okay. So obviously, I'm privy to Baby Jeep. Baby Jeep was one of my bucket list Jeeps.
It was. It's always bad when you have a loan on a Jeep and it doesn't make it.
Oh. What the bank doesn't know doesn't hurt them.
Right?
The bank doesn't know doesn't hurt them.
I remember the conversation. I got to pay on this, but don't actually have the vehicle anymore.
That makes it sound really bad. I didn't even think of it.
It was
that
a 95 4-liter 5-speed YJ. That actually was pretty nice shape.
It was a 95.5.
Oh,
I always liked to. I always
didn't
liked to
have
pull.
ABS as well.
It did.
Which is super weird.
It had ABS and it had the TJ rear bumper.
That's
it
right.
had a TJ. So TJs have the windshield tie down that actually has the round bumpers.
See, this is bad. This is making me want to talk about a topic for next week, possibly.
Okay.
There was the myths.
Yes. Well, this goes into the myths.
Okay.
There's
a
myths.
question of was there a 96 YJ? Yours kind of was a 96 YJ.
Mine was as close to a 96, but of course for federal and EPA emissions regulations and OBD2
that wasn't
compliance,
allowed.
Right, it wasn't allowed. That's my fine print blah, 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 that I
Yeah.
always tell people. We weren't Chrysler Jeep was not allowed to sell a 96, but we continued production on the 95s through 96 more or less.
Pretty much. OBD2 regulations happened in 96, and the YJ wasn't ready.
They weren't able to
OBD2.
retrofit it, and Jeep was seeing a declining sales of the Wrangler platform. They weren't even sure that they were going to continue production of it, to my knowledge. And it was this big phoenix rising out of the ashes with the TJ.
Yeah, then the TJ happened
and the
blew the
rest
lid
is
off.
history. That's why we're here at this point, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
But as far as Baby Jeep was concerned, I bought that. Bought it out of West Virginia, actually, I think, or
Which
just
is why it
southern.
was sort of nice.
Yeah, it was southern Pittsburgh or something, and
We were super excited when you got it. I remember.
super
that.
excited because again,
You're
a number
harking
of
back to your high school days.
well, I was because my first Jeep was a Wrangler, a YJ Wrangler. That was my first Jeep, so it was nostalgic piece for me.
But not the good 4-liter 5-speed platform.
Oh man, it was a 4.2 5-speed, so it was the worst. It was an '87. It had a Peugeot transmission in it, which again, myths and legends. That one should stay a legend at that point.
At least I didn't help you kill Baby Jeep, to my knowledge.
No, I killed that one. I killed that one in its entirety by myself. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. But you know what? Again, the loan was completely paid off on that eventually.
Good standing.
Everything's in good standing. But every piece of that Jeep was sellable.
Yeah.
And I had
If we had those parts now.
Ooh, man, YJ people would go crazy.
Oh my!
But we could also talk about bucket list Jeeps, right? Because that was one of my bucket lists. I wanted that 95. That was what I would consider to be the quintessential YJ Wrangler. The 95, late 95 production.
Well, that can kind of show you how your tastes change. What do you think you really want, and then you get it, and you're like,
Yeah, I scratched that itch.
Yeah,
I scratched that
over
itch.
it now.
I'm over it, and it's the same thing. We actually we had the V8, the 5.9 limited Grand Cherokee. I still kind of think about wanting one of those, but we had a fantastic customer who had one. We drug it to a couple shows. We got to build the heck out of it.
Yep.
IRO semi long arm lift kit, and
Yep.
Doug Thorley V8 headers. And so you have this 5.9, and we let it breathe and let it run, and
Lots of America.
lots of just eagles flying from the exhaust when you let it rip, and it was a blast. But again, scratch that itch. I don't feel like I want to own one of those as far as bucket Jeeps are concerned. But Baby Jeep was a great one, and then Baby Jeep was actually the Jeep that this business I own when I went full time, and you and I wheeled down in Scrubgrass, which we've talked about.
Yep.
That harrowing adventure with the switchbacks as I,
Yep.
almost died in Baby Jeep.
Yep.
And actually, and fortunately, somewhere out there's a picture of my sister and maybe my wife and I. It actually, Baby Jeep was on like bald tires. I had just bought it and I was trying to drive the tires off of it.
Very pregnant 35s, if I remember right.
No. Before that.
Oh, before that.
Before I lifted it, before I done all that kind of stuff. It was that winter that I bought it.
Oh, okay.
And I was just driving the tires off of it, and just standard little 235s. And I spun off into I've spun off into people's fields and yards a lot. When I
apologize,
I would like to apologize for all of the people that I have ever driven accidentally in your yard or field, and I own that
since high school.
I haven't done that recently for professional reasons. And but if I've ever driven in your yard or field, I do apologize now. With that, we are going to take a break for a commercial, and we'll see you shortly, Jeep family. Hey, Jeep family, we hope that you're enjoying this content, and we want to make sure that you head over to sfj4x4.com, find some of this cool merchandise. Give us a call at our facility, 440-813-3663. Option 1. And make sure that you tune in to our live podcast every Monday at 10:19 a.m. and check out our updates on YouTube on Tuesdays and Fridays. Until then, Jeep on. All right, back from that. So what were you thinking? What's
going to be my Jeep of
Christmas
Past?
I have some ideas about what
I should do.
Well, no, that I have some favorites of yours that didn't make it.
Okay. So
sort of didn't make it.
Sort of didn't make it. Are you talking about the MBs?
Maybe.
Well, since you obviously count when the motors come out of them, that it's a big death of the vehicle. See, I don't think that makes it because it's all restored now and pretty. But
not under
now,
your.
Now you talk about Jeeps I actually killed that were my ownership. Is I had a fleet of Wagoneers that I killed.
Oh, you had a J truck as well.
Yeah, the J truck made it out alive, technically, because I pulled the motor and sold that, but then I sold it off. And it did get planted in a field, and I did find it later, and I really wanted to buy it. My wife wouldn't let me.
Thank you, Amy. Good choices were made.
Still makes me sad. Totally not practical. Don't need it. Not good. I already got 2 regular cab pickup trucks in the stable now. I don't need a third, but God,
that's my
J
Facebook
truck.
Marketplace. I'm telling you.
J truck was so cool.
J truck.
It was a 66 J2000, 327, 3 on the column, Dana 20 transfer case, 27 front, I think, in that era, and a 44 rear.
Wait, what did you say was in the front, you thought?
27, I think.
What year? 67?
66.
Oh, 66. I think you're probably right.
Yeah, closed knuckle.
Yep.
Yep.
Not a good axle at all.
No.
Not a good axle.
It had these really cool steel wheels with triangles in it that were painted baby blue, and the truck was black with red accents. It was like a red, white, and blue with black truck. It was really weird.
Oh, that's kind of cool, though.
It had a really cool reflective Jeep logo on the back window, small back window. Yeah, I wanted to save that truck in the worst way, but I did sort of part it out, sort of. It had the iconic grill.
Oh, the Rhino grill.
The Rhino grill.
Yep.
And I paid, I think, $100 for this truck. And I pulled the grill out of it, and we had a powder coat, and I sold it for like way more than I paid for the truck. And then I sold the motor for $75. So I had zero money in this truck. And then there was a title issue. Person I got it from didn't have the title in his name, which if you get an old vehicle, put the title in your name, please. Help the next guy out.
Look, the bank, I even paid off the loan. I put that title, the vehicle didn't even exist anymore. That was in my name. So.
Right. In any regard, he had passed away. Nobody knew where the title was. It wasn't in his name. They couldn't file lost title. And then I had made a deal. This was back in the EJP forum days.
Mm-hmm.
I listed it for sale on there, and it
This
sold.
is when young Scott got yelled at.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I killed a Wagoneer.
This is a ghost of
Yes.
of Jeepmas past, right?
Yeah, I had this whole fleet of J truck and Wagoneers. It was also from this collection, and he had some Willys wagons too. That was really cool. But so anyway, I made this deal with a guy out of Erie, sold it for $100, and then I got a phone call like the night I sold it. He hadn't come and picked it up yet. Hey, we found the title. Cool. And sadly, I don't think the guy I sold it to had any luck transferring that, because it was an Ohio title, and it was like the guy had died like 50 years before, and it was all those questions, like it's not stolen. We have the title for it, but nobody did their job transferring anything.
Right. Those owners didn't do their jobs. And
yeah. But,
very challenging when you get that far removed from it.
But talk about killing Wagoneers. I did not know, young Scott Brown did not know that they changed axles under Waggies like water. And I had, there was just a brief moment where they had a disconnect front axle like a YJ-ish in a Wagoneer, where it was a 44 and it had a vacuum flipper beside the cover, if I remember right. And all I knew is I had Wagoneers and they had 44s in them, and everybody wanted them for swap axles. And I had little to no money in these trucks or wagons, and I wanted the motors and stuff out of them, because at that point I was a full-blown AMC nut, and the motors obviously interchange into AMC cars.
Yep.
And I love me some AMC V8s. So
you were talking about people with 350s under the bench. You've got like 3 or 4 360s.
I get nervous if I don't have a spare 360 in queue, even though I don't actually need
You don't have a vehicle that needs a 360 at this point.
Well, I do, but it really needs an LS more.
It really needs an LS more than anything. Sure. But early years, it was all about the 360.
It was all about it. And I bought a lot of them, about as many 258s Neil bought for no money.
I love a 258.
I bought early AMC V8s for like little to no money.
It was a bonding point for us in the very beginning. My love of 258s and your love of 360s. Absolutely terrible motors in the grand scheme of engines in the world. But let's just, that's insulting. Somebody's feelings are hurt right now, but
I still love it even for its shortcomings.
I would still buy a 258 today.
Right.
Okay.
You come in with a V8 for $75, I probably have to buy it.
Oh yeah. You got a junk 258, I'm coming out my pocket for $50, $75 without question.
So anyway, I pull this axle out, guy's coming from Erie, he's all pumped. He comes up, he looks at the axle, he's like, that's got a disconnect on it. And I'm like, what? What's that?
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, he was not happy.
He was not happy with me.
Not happy.
Sorry, whoever that guy was.
Yeah.
I know better now.
We have no idea who that person is. Like, we probably know them at this point.
Probably.
I'm
still sorry.
We should just retitle this podcast, I'm sorry. That's classic.
Yeah.
I think that was the
84.
I was going to say that was the Dana 44 disconnect in the wagons was in the early 80s, and it stopped by like 85, 86.
Okay.
And because at that time that you were doing that, and obviously we didn't exactly know each other at the time, I was obsessed with this page called Mr. Dana 44, Mr. Something's Dana 44. And that's about the time that I was building my wagon axles for my 89 Cherokee.
I did think of another cool, quick story on that note. So in that lot, there was 2 wagons and that J truck, and one was an 82 and one was the 84. The 84 had gotten hit in the front, and I had parted out the 82 and the 84. Those got scrapped. There's so many good wagon parts I just let go because I had no interest in them at that time.
Yeah. Shame what we know now. What we know now.
Yep. I literally think I gave the shells away to a guy that just wanted to haul them away. But the 82 had a plow on it, and I had saved the steering column out of it because I'm a steering column hoarder from way back.
Oh, yeah.
And we had that column up to about 3 years ago up on the shelf here still.
Oh, that's...
And then I stole it back.
Oh, it paid rent. Well, you took it back.
I took it home.
I didn't even know, obviously.
And I needed the shaft out of it for, I think, Amy's column in her CJ. Because full-size Jeeps and CJ7s and 5s, the bottom is splined, and that is the same from those. So if you want a tilt column in a CJ, you can fab or cobble-ish that together. I know the secret sauce of that. But anyway.
It's not easy.
No. It's not easy, but
we have done it.
But it can be done.
Right.
So the long story short, though, the keys for that Jeep were still hanging in the ignition of this column, And one day I'm talking to a friend that I actually met through owning the 45 MB when it stopped running at a car show. And he starts talking about, oh, I had a wagon back in the day, and the motor had a problem, and I bought this wrecked wagon to take parts out of it, and I never did anything with it, and I sold it. And I like the radar's going off, and I'm like, really? You had 2 wagons, one was wrecked. What was it? I mean, it was the early 80s. I don't remember exactly. But, I still have a key for it. So he gives me the key. I get that column. And what do you think works?
No.
Uh-huh.
No, it actually...
It was his Jeep.
How many years removed was that?
Oh, God. I mean, since it died, it was probably at least 8 to 10 years after it had died. The column was just still there. And here it was his Jeep at one point. Yep.
Okay. So as much as we could continue to talk about that, because I would, on this Jeeps of Christmas past, right? And the challenges that has been, we gotta spend just a couple minutes, but at some point in time we could dedicate a whole slew. But you got to tell us about your 45.
Oh, so the 45 is a fun story.
Wait a second. I want to lead you up. I want to start you up.
Okay.
Because this actually involves us. And so early years, we would oftentimes, interestingly enough, I had the truck and Scott had the trailer, which is really the reality of the situation. He had a trailer that he really couldn't pull comfortably across the country. And I had a truck that didn't even know the truck and trailer were back there.
Yep.
And so we ended up on a number of rescue missions to...
I mean, that's what Jeep friends should do.
That's right.
Let's do that.
That's right. So I remember early on, your wife, I believe it was, found a scrap piece of paper pinned.
You know how old guys want to sell something, they go to the antique mall and they put a handwritten note and they little tear pieces with their phone number, pull tab on the bottom, and that's what this guy had done. And my wife,
it wasn't at was it at an antique mall?
It was.
Where?
In Madison.
There was an antique mall in Madison with a scrap piece of paper hanging on a corkboard.
Yep.
Okay. And so next thing I know, you guys bring that in, and I have this scrap piece of paper with a number and maybe an address or something. I don't remember.
And I think you called on it.
I did. I'm the one who called because it was advertised as a 1945 military Jeep.
Yep.
And that is pretty much all it said.
Yeah, it was very vague.
Exceedingly vague, which is fine because vagueness actually typically equates to affordability.
Yes.
Right? So I call and I vet the guy, and he has all the right answers. He knows a good bit about it. I mean, reasonably speaking, and he just
I remember you calling me and saying, you have to come with me. You know military Jeeps better than I do, because I had started assembling a military MB from pieces, which if you ever want to build a project, don't do that. Go buy one. Go buy something that's rusted to pieces but looks like a vehicle, please. Don't do what I did. But anyway, so I had this 43, which it did live. I sold that and that went on to do greater things than me. But anyway,
it was on the cover of a magazine.
It was.
If that tells you anything, not under his ownership.
Typical Brown fashion. But anyway, because of that, I nerded out on G503 and all the MB groups, and knew way more than anyone should know about early MBs, not owning technically one.
That is your MO. That is your MO.
So you're like, you got to come with me. You're going to know everything about it. So we go into Madison, and into this little residential cul-de-sac where all the houses and the mailboxes match. And we're looking at each other going,
oh, I remember turning. We were actually up on Madison on the lake.
Yeah.
We were actually
like, we're not going to find this Jeep here.
Here we are rumbling through a legitimate HOA. The mailboxes were the same. The numbering was the same.
Diesel
and
smell.
Here's my Cummins dually.
Of course, he's got the tow mirrors out.
Oh,
full fashion.
I run tow mirrors out all the time. There's no other way for those mirrors to be, obviously.
Right.
So we roll up, and I mean, beautiful manicured spec built houses.
Yes.
And no
derelict vehicles anywhere.
Not at all. Yeah, no derelict vehicles. Not at all what we expected.
So we finally find the address, and we pull in, and there's a TJ that was super manicured, nice. And we're like, could he been talking about that by mistake?
Oh, absolutely. I thought for sure, because again, it was so vague.
At this point, we're like, this is not going to happen. This was a waste of a trip. And the guy comes out around. He's like, oh, the Jeep's back here. So we walk around the garage and past the pool.
And like a hot tub and a beautiful deck.
Yeah, and a small shed. And here's this military tarp.
Yes.
And he rips it back. And here's this shell of a Jeep. No front clip, no windshield, just a tub. And I'm staring at it.
Do you ever have one of those moments where you really feel like the divine presence of God is upon you, and like there's just the planets have aligned and doves are singing, and I'm standing there, I'm completely unmoved by this. I'm all business, and I'm looking at Scott.
He's talking about it, and I'm like off and like, oh,
yeah. This is absolutely Scott is a statue, just kind of tracing his fingers over this Jeep.
Yeah, I'm standing behind it, and I'm looking at this blue paint, going, I've seen that before. Somewhere before. And then the guy, you had said something about the title. And he pulls out the title and he says, it's actually in my buddy's name still.
Also title issues.
And I said, is his name Bobby? And he says, yeah, how do you know that? Because I know this Jeep.
Yeah, it was actually a Jeep from your childhood, right?
Yep, about 8 years old. Ironically, another 36 Ford sedan that I think we talked about in another podcast.
Yep.
The guy that had bought in that after my dad stopped working on it.
I'm sorry, he did what?
Stop it. Anyway, moving on.
He had bought in it. Okay.
Stop it.
Okay.
Jeff's looking at the timestamp, so he knows how to make a meme out of that now. So anyway, we this MB was just forlornly in the corner, and at that time, I had no idea what an MB was. Didn't have the foggiest clue.
At 8 years old.
At 8 years old.
Yeah.
It had a hard top on it, had a plow on it, and it was hand painted with a brush, a dark blue, and then like a really light baby blue. And it had sheet metal had been wrapped over it to make it not fall through, because it had been a plow Jeep its whole life. But the dash was still OD green.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I could remember about it, other than it was super cool, is it had toolboxes in the back corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it was an MB when I got the 43. And realized, well, heck, there's toolboxes there. So, excuse me. Here I am. This is literally the same Jeep. And
20 years later.
20 years later, at least. So on the way home, I'm begging Neil for anything I could hawk to buy this Jeep. And at the time, I had restored-ish a motorcycle. And I ended up selling it to one of Neil's friends for $100 more than what they wanted for the Jeep or something, or exactly the same amount of money. And I rode the motorcycle down to Meadville, sold it on like a Tuesday.
Right.
And on a Wednesday or so, I called the guy and said, hey, I got the cash for this Jeep. Really want to buy it. And the guy says, oh, I actually don't want to sell it anymore.
I don't remember that part.
Like my heart's in my chest. Like, just sold my bike and what? And he's like, but I'll sell it to you because you have the history with it.
That's cool.
So then we went and got it. And he had to disassemble the fence.
That's
from
right.
behind this house.
That's right.
And then we pull this Jeep out. It's like the HOA is like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So all the women got their binoculars looking through their windows. We pull it out. We winch it. I think we rolled it up on the trail. We didn't have a winch. We weren't winching at that time.
That's way too sophisticated at that point. Don't put that on us.
Or maybe we use my dad's come along.
The come along. That's for many, many moons. You know what? So that's a fantastic. We think we should end our own Jeeps of Christmas past there. But as far as that era, so 45 and 43. It probably segues nicely into the myth of where the term Jeep came from, right? Because, of course...
I have my favorite story, of course.
Well, and I was going to say, that military era is really when Jeep started to stick, if you will. So what's your favorite story of the myth of where the word or term Jeep came from?
I like the Popeye version.
Oh, you like the Popeye version?
Yep. So
okay.
Popeye had a mythical creature called...
I'm sorry, a what? You know what? We're going to just do a special segment on
Word Scott can't say.
Word Scott says.
I think that's a great idea.
Davey will just clip together a series of what and just so if we can all share in this, Curiosity was still one of my favorite
Hey, that's the
Scott-isms.
Scott dictionary right
with
there.
Scott-isms. All right, so mythical
You can't even
creatures.
do it.
What? Say that again.
Oh, Curiosity. So he'll say, out of pure curiosity, and we're trying to have a professional meeting, and I can't not address curiosity. It just makes me smile. So
That's like the gifts I give.
yeah, the gifts, absolutely. What you bring to the table.
I have too many car facts in my brain, and I
That's-
can't.
Oh my
speak.
God, absolutely.
Never learned to talk good.
Okay. Okay, please tell me about Popeye's mythical creature already.
So anyway, back during World War II era, there was Popeye the Sailor Man, and he had Eugene the Jeep, which was a mythical creature, right there on the screen. That somewhere.
Yeah, I'm supposed to point here.
If I remember right, he was out of another dimension, and he could pop in and pop out at will.
I think that I heard that actually was as early as like 07 or 11 or 17, somewhere in one of those. So it was actually almost even
World War II.
pre-World War II. It was the first time that it was actually in print or in publication was pre-World War II, in fact.
Okay. So,
But to your point, yeah.
because the MB was such a light, nimble, and it literally had handles on it so you could drag it around things, and it was unstoppable in the eyes of the GIs, they started calling it Jeep because nothing could stop it. It could go anywhere, do anything it wanted to.
Yeah.
Ironically, quickly, I had gotten my child a Eugene the Jeep doll. They were terrified of it.
Well, it is kind of nothing says, the early 1900s by other than that character himself.
Right.
Eugene the Jeep was just this, kind of big nose, kind of round, kind of rudely characterized. And I've loved him forever. Now, where I was actually exposed, so I understood Eugene the Jeep, and I kind of understood him as a Popeye character, but had never actually put together the story you just shared until I was a young adult. And I was, those of you who are not familiar, I was actually employed as a professional adventure course climber at one point. And so we'd actually
You're certified for that.
I was, yeah, I am. And so zip lines and challenge courses and all those kinds of stuff, that's I would instruct and whatnot. And oftentimes you use nicknames, just kind of part of the culture there. And I was climbing with a guy named Jeep, and I was all giddy because I thought he liked
Jeeps.
off-road vehicles and Jeeps.
Wasn't at all.
It wasn't at all. It was because he was so nimble on the course. And that he was, he could be on this part of the course and then down here and then up here and zipping across, that they called him Jeep.
Was it because of Popeye?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and actually he explained that. And he had little Eugene the Jeep caricatures.
See, other people do it
no,
too.
that's
It's
gonna
not
be-
just me.
Oh, God, that's going to make
That's the remix. Right there.
no. He had the little stickers of Eugene the Jeep on his climbing helmet, which
I
was very
approve
cool.
of that.
So obviously we have that one myth. The primary contender, which is the one that I subscribe to more so, though I love that one that you shared, was the GP stamped on all of the military items. So
Now-
of course,
now you got to tell people what a GP is. See the stress.
yeah. See the stress on my face.
You want me to take it from there?
Yeah, you're gonna have to take it from there, though. I do know this story.
So GP was the first concept vehicle Ford produced for the military. That's why the production one was GPW. Is they just added on to the name, but the GP was a little Ford only specific Jeep that they made for the Army. They also had the Bantam, and they had the Willys MA,
Yes.
which is before the MB.
And as we get closer to Bantam Jeep Heritage Festival, we'll have to address
Yes.
the formulation. I would love to. We could spend so much time,
All the time.
all the time on just that. But when we look specifically at the GP, but I also think there was the
which stood for general purpose.
general purpose.
Yep. And if you slang that out, it becomes Jeep.
Correct.
Yep.
And I know that there was a lot of GP stamped or emblazoned on crates and military items at that time
Yep.
in some capacity. And so both we have it used on Ford's end, which actually developed a nimble light duty 4-wheel drive vehicle for the military.
Which is why in the late 40s, when they started making civilian Jeeps, Jeep would be on the advertisements, and they would have quotations
Absolutely.
around it. It wasn't technically official, I don't think, yet.
Right. I don't know. But of course, then we have the CJ produced by 1946.
Yep.
Which we have.
Technically, 45, you could get a CJ really early production.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right. CJ2A.
Yep. There actually was a CJ1. They made 2 of them for Jeepmas. A little tie in there.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So as much as we could continue to talk about that very cool stuff,
Yep.
tell me, so we have this beautiful unit here.
Yep.
Obviously, we have our coffee as well. Just if you are not aware, we have coffee and mugs for sale, make great stocking stuffers.
Yep. Locally made and brewed.
Yep. Roasted.
Roasted.
Yep. Roasted here
Not a
in
coffee guy.
Ashtabula County. Yeah. But, definitely a great stocking stuffer.
So let's do a quick 15 minutes of Optima.
Wow. I don't know about 15, but yeah, lay it on me. Lay it on me.
So Optimas are AGM batteries, and there's going to be a bunch of people going, what the heck is an AGM? That's a absorbent glass mat style battery. And the old traditional style batteries that we all kind of grew up using are what's called a wet cell battery, where they literally have water and acid in them. And back in the old days, they literally had screw-on caps, and you would have a little squeeze bulb that you would check how much was in it and play with acid quite on a regular basis, as much as that freaks me out.
Absolutely.
And if you go further back, there's literally glass cases that you could see the acid and stuff in. And you would have lead plates in that.
I was going to say lead acid. And so what's important to note is that lead acid technology is really what's used in many batteries up until current, really, right?
Well, you still can get a wet cell battery pretty
cell.
easy. All
It
your
doesn't have the
lawnmowers.
lead that
Yeah, it's a faux lead or a recycled lead at this point. Which, ironically, I was actually surprised. Optimas only use pure lead. That's one of their things.
really
Mhm.
that's one of their talking points.
99.9% pure.
There's lead in the batteries.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't realize that we were legally allowed to use lead in the
I-
world, period.
I didn't either. They also do not use recycled plastic for the cases. That does not meet their criteria.
Huh.
That's 100% brand new polypropylene. Don't do it, Jeff. Anyway, they have
But
very,
polypropylene is totally, I get that. You actually did a great job on that word. I'll
it's a very
commend you on
high
that.
tolerance on the case.
It
They actually have
is.
a very specific on it.
I support recycled materials, but I can
Yes.
also understand where Optima's coming from.
Yeah, Optima does not use much, sadly.
Huh.
Good
Interesting.
and bad, I guess.
Yeah.
So they actually, Optima back in the 70s did have a maintenance-free lead acid battery, kind of more what we are used to for commercial and military use. So they have been around since the 70s. In the early 90s is when the battery we all know came to exist. And their specific claim to fame is called spiral cell technology. So back in the olden days, and they actually do still have batteries like this, where the plates are just side by side in very orderly straight rows. And then someone like Jeff or Neil came up and said, we don't have to have them like that. We can make them any shape we want.
Break the box.
And started
No
making
box in
them
my life.
round. And that's why they have the characteristic shape they have. In our pictures, you can see the round cells.
Huh.
And each cell, if I'm not mistaken, is 2.1 volts. They stack up as many as you want. That's why a 6-volt battery is just 3 cells. 12 is 6 of those cells.
Interesting.
So they still do make plate style. They primarily in the yellow top line. They're
What are the
called a
differences
pure
in the
flow.
lines? What are the differences in the lines? I know we have
So-
a red. I mean,
To make it kind of
lay it on us.
easy to digest, red tops are going to be your general run-of-the-mill average Joe battery. That's going to be primarily for starting your vehicle and general normal use. But they advertise a 3 times longer life, 15 times more vibe resistant. So it's a regular battery that's wet cell has a venting system. If you shake it like that, it's going to leak. Optima is not going to do that because the acid is actually impregnated into that mat, which is why you can mount an Optima sideways, upside down, doesn't matter. They say virtually spill proof. They're leaving themselves an out.
They're leaving themselves just a technical out on that. How many red tops do you own? Do you know?
Let's see. Right now, I think I have 2.
Okay.
Pining for a third. But I actually was thinking maybe about a yellow top for the next one. And we'll get to that why.
Okay.
But the next one on my list is a blue top. Blue top is primarily for RV, boat, deep cycle use. And the type of terminals that are on it will kind of automatically tell you that. They always have the small threaded connections that RVs and boats customarily use. Yellow tops are technically a deep cycle battery, but they specifically make them for starting use, where a traditional deep cycle is not rated for that high discharge that starting happens.
Interesting.
Yellow top's kind of a honey badger of batteries. It does a little bit of both, the red top and the blue top.
I've been coming to realize that over the last couple of years as well. But of course, we were all sold on the red top coming out of the 90s.
So here's something I was really surprised by, but it makes sense. As our Jeeps become more electronic and the demands increase, if you go on Optima's website and you put in your Jeep's information and you put in for your JK, they'll have 2 options for you. They'll have a red top and a yellow top. If you put in for a JL, the red top option goes away.
Really?
They will only suggest a yellow top.
Really? Isn't that interesting?
It is. They're all about 800 cold cranking amps, which is pretty good.
That's healthy, to say the least.
But they have an HD version on the JL, which is actually 880 cold cranking amps. So and it is a 34 series on the JKs, and then they're a DH6 or DH7 on the JLs. And the 6 does work both JK and JL.
Okay.
But I'm kind of intrigued by the yellow tops. I know some people have used them. I've never had one myself. Red tops have always treated me well. But
yeah, and the big thing about what we've found over the years with Optima batteries in general, if you're going to use them, really use them,
they
daily
are a
use
high
them,
performance battery.
Yeah, and that's how they like to be treated, right?
Yes.
That they don't want to sit on the shelf for 3-6 months. So for many of our customers who put their Jeeps up for the winter, or if it's a show Jeep or a specialty restoration, or even just a Jeep you don't want to get a lot of schmutz on, we suggest a battery tender. This is Optima's actual battery charger and tender.
It's their big boy. They
This is
actually
the
have
big
a
boy.
small, cheaper battery tender specifically formulated for AGM batteries. And something else too I wanted to bring up. I believe JL batteries from the factory are AGMs because of the start-stop technology.
I agree.
They rated as a higher load battery right from the get-go because it literally starts and stops constantly, which is why they're going to a yellow top in that platform.
Without question. And so here's the thing with me with red tops over the years, I've actually used them as jump packs.
Not good for it.
Oh, not good for that. We don't approve of that here at SFJ.
No, get a yellow top if you're going to do that and still expect a shorter life out of it. Because it needs that constant back and forth where it's getting charged. They like a surface charge. They don't like a deep discharge on an Optima.
But that's why the yellow works well, because it is meant to be the one that can discharge the most.
So, up to 300 discharge recharge is what they rated at on the website.
On the yellow or the red?
On the yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually put that out there that you should expect at minimum 300 full discharge and recharge.
Interesting.
Yep.
So there is a big thing. There was what was called the Optima loan a battery program, return a battery. What was that?
So
it was a joke more so, but it was kind of real.
So that is actually from Roadkill fame, where the Optima will take back your battery. They have really good QC and customer service stuff. And a lot of the times it's just the fact that a person discharged it too low and then didn't charge it up the proper way, and it wasn't reliable for them. So Optima would, I'm sorry, even though you technically ruined the battery. Here's another one send us your old battery back. And they would charge it on one of these style chargers. I'm sure they have even a bigger battery one at their
Disposal,
place.
sure.
And the battery is actually fine, but at that point they can't legally sell that battery. So they would donate them to Motor Trend and Roadkill and those places, and they used to call it their loan Optima program.
Yeah.
And they were constantly just throwing them in any junk they found.
Absolutely. and they work, right? And so
Yeah.
I've had, I don't know, half a dozen of these in my lifetime at this point, just because I beat on them and use them. And
I've had one last up over 6 years before.
one of my early ones lasted forever as
Yeah.
well, but I also didn't do.
I didn't treat that one at all well.
Oh, you didn't treat that one
No.
well?
No, it was in the Gremlin. I'd park it for the winter, never unhook it, never start it, go out in the spring, start right up. When it got old, when it got into that 6th season, it didn't like that very much
No.
anymore.
No.
And it was like rawr, rawr. And then that was pretty much it. So
Oh, that was the death of it. Huh?
that was the death of it. Probably
Huh.
could have made it go longer if I would have properly charged it.
Well, and that was the
tended it.
thing. Maybe obviously there was some charge on it. Maybe it just that's a testament to how good the Gremlin charging system worked. Because the biggest killer of the Optima batteries themselves, in my experience, is when they discharge, they go dead, and then they stay dead for a period of time. That really seems to be what is the nail in the coffin per se.
Yeah, it's very similar to a lot of the other high performance batteries like RCs use and that kind of stuff. You don't
Yep.
want to let them go dead. That's bad.
Right. Sit too long and
Yep. A battery is all about the resistance, and the internal resistance is bad. You want a low internal resistance in order for it to be able to come back. And the more it sits dead, that increases. You're just taking days and months and years off of the life of the battery at that point.
And it is important to know what we've experienced over the years with Optimas is the lowest amount of trickle charge, actually lower, and that's one of the advantages to this or some of the higher dollar chargers on the market, is that they recharge or trickle charge back at such a low voltage that the Optima can really kind of see that or sense that that's actually what fills its bucket. Versus so when we all have our battery rechargers, you could have like a 10 volt
Or a 2
or
amp.
a 2 amp,
Yeah.
10 amp or a 2 amp, and really neither of those work well on an Optima.
Yeah, isn't it
And
like
that's-
half a volt or something?
It is like the lowest that you can possibly get. It's like under 1.
Yeah.
Is really what the Optimas want to see when they do go when they do
Which
discharge.
it's all about heat. Back in the wet cell batteries, you weren't supposed to, but back in the day, why they had serviceable caps then is if you got them hot from charging them, the water evaporates.
Absolutely.
And you would just top it back off with some more, and you could be okay. Because these are sealed and because of the way it's in the mat, if you boil them out, they're done.
Right.
They can't come back.
Could you imagine if our car manuals still asked people to check the water and
water in
acid
their-
levels in
Yeah.
their batteries?
Yeah, that wouldn't go well.
Oh,
We can't check tire pressures and stuff in today's
we
world.
need our electronic, our fancy JLs to do all that. And yeah, I got to tell you, I love our JL, so I can't complain too much.
No.
But
So you're gonna regale us with some music
I
here?
am. We're at that point in our broadcast, and
See how excited he is.
I'm vamping. I'm stalling, trying to muster up the courage to do this. And as requested, I'm supposed to start with the first day. Is that accurate? Okay.
Yeah, and he has pictures to put up as you go through.
Oh my god.
Oh, don't worry about the pictures. Next week, Scott, you'll be holding them up. As he
Oh.
goes, you got to keep up with him.
Oh, I don't think that'll be that hard.
Okay. Well, This is dedicated. This is my Barry White voice.
Oh dear. Sorry, Jennifer.
Just so you know, I can pitch tune you.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Oh, I could be auto-tuned.
Oh, no.
Watch out, Christina Aguilera. Coming
boy.
for you.
Oh boy.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a Jeep in Tuscadero. I still don't. What you explained to me what Tuscadero was. I need it explained again.
It's from Greece.
The city?
No, the movie, the musical.
Yeah.
I would like
Pinky.
a Jeep Mopar official to weigh in on the foundation of Tuscadero, the color.
I take Jeff's, since he's the resident JT owner.
It's
that he
important to
probably knows
note that Jeff has written this, and
Yes.
I'm just impressed. I mean, he has obviously audio production background.
takes this very serious.
Takes this incredibly serious, and he builds a heck of a Jeep at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
we've ridden him hard in the last 6 months.
Maybe a haze or two.
But not just a haze, but I mean, we've
Trisha.
done some. Hey, Trish. We've done some character building with Jeff as far as building Jeeps and bringing him into our
dad always
special
said,
sauce.
if I don't like you, I don't pick on you.
Right. He's getting us back at this point. Though, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And he's doing a phenomenal job moving this stuff along. Again, I can't say enough for the production of the. I'm supposed to do this. I thought I was going to just kind of,
Nope, nice try.
see us out of the.
We're going to go in overtime now.
Well, we're going to go to OT. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 e-lockers and a Jeep in Tuscadero. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 skid plates from Artec Manufacturing.
Yes.
2 e-lockers and a Jeep
From
in
Eaton.
Tuscadero. From the movie Grease.
It gets better.
First of all, I don't just use Artec lockers in our builds, but Artec skids in our builds,
Or Eaton just
just
Eaton lockers.
Eaton. No, we use everybody as long as you're a reputable, appropriate product. It's just I really like Artec's
Okay,
laser
stop
cut,
stalling.
and Jeff made a point to show us that there were literally 3 Artec skids
was
on
very
this last
excited.
build.
Because we're like, who would just have 3 skids?
Yeah, I was totally trying to throw him under the bus. On the 4th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4D shackles, 3 skid plates, 2 e-lockers, and a Jeep in Tuscadero. Also, in true fashion, I've not pre-read any of this, so I'm getting to experience it.
Fresh.
This is fresh. I've purposely and accidentally not prepped anything on here. So, on the 5th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 golden wheels
From Dirty Life.
4D shackles, 3 skid plates, 2 e-lockers, and a Jeep in Tuscadero. And the last one for today. On the 6th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 6 inches lifted. What are we working on? Like a 1999 XJ that wants to run 35s? Who does 6 inches of lift? 5 golden wheels, 4D rings/shackles, 3 skid plates, 2 e-lockers, and a Jeep in Tuscadero.
You want to tune in next week for when it gets longer.
Oh, you do, huh? All right. Thanks for watching, Jeep family. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you missed the live here, you can join us over at YouTube. Make sure that you turn on all of those, ring the bell so you get our notifications, and follow all of our social medias linked in the description down below. And head over to sfj4x4.com to get you some of this cool merch, the mugs, the coffee. Some people have been asking about our hats. We're desperately trying to fill those orders for Christmas.
They just go so fast.
So hold in there, hold the line, because I think we're going to have both the baseball caps and the beanies by Christmas. You can reach us directly on our social page, email, or sfj4x4.com to get those things moving. Or obviously make an appointment with us, by calling in or jumping on the website to do those things. Until then, Jeep family, Jeep on.